Good morning students. In earlier class we were doing subject-verb agreement and we would be doing this video in continuation to that. Okay, we have completed the exercise A of this chapter. Now we have to continue with more points to remember. So in this, more points to remember. Okay, more points to remember about what? About subject verb agreement. In this, proximity of subject and verb. So the subheading is proximity of subject and verbs. They should be placed as close as possible in a sentence. So when we are talking about the subject-verb agreement, we see that we should always keep verbs close to the subject of the sentence. Okay? Subject of the sentence. For example, she loves reading stories. So, example, she loves reading stories. Okay. So, in this data, she is the subject. Okay. She becomes the subject of the sentence and loves is the verb. Okay. She is the subject and loves is the verb. Okay. So we can see that proximity of both subject and verb are as close to as possible. They are just next to one another. So in first point to remember, it is being said we should always try to keep the verb in a sentence close to the subject. Okay. Another example could be he writes a letter. So in this, he becomes the subject, writes becomes the verb. Okay, writes becomes the verb. He becomes the subject and writes becomes the verb. In this also you can see that there is no distance between the verb and the subject. They are as close to one another. Okay, am I clear? So let's move on to the another point to remember. In some sentences, the subject may not be placed to the verb. Okay, so there are always some exceptions. Okay, some exceptions are, what are these? Means in some sentence, this subject and verb are not so close to one another. Okay, in many sentences, in the exceptions, we see that subject is written here and the verb is here. Okay, so in that those are the exceptions where the subject and verb are not close to one another. So the second point to remember of this subject verb agreement is this. Okay, when a group of words act as a subject, the main word is actually the subject. Therefore, the verb should agree with this word and not with anything else in the phrase. For example, the long fairy tales that she narrated were interesting. For example, what happens? The long fairy long fairy tales that she narrated were interesting. Okay, beta. So in this, what do we see? Where is the subject in this sentence? Subject is fairy tales. Okay, fairy tales becomes the subject. And what's the verb? Where is the verb in this sentence? Verb is were. Okay, so you can see the distance between the subject and the verb is far away from each other. They both are subject and the verb are far away from one another. Am I clear, students? Another example can be the broken chains kept outside were repaired. So, the broken chain kept outside were repaired. Okay, beta. So here the chains become the subject, and once again the verb becomes the verb. So we can see the same pattern: subject and the verb. They are not next to one another. Okay, am I clear? Okay, let's move on to the third point to remember. So the third one is when there is a group of words used as a subject, the main word act as the subject. So here it is being said when a group of words used as the subject, the main word becomes the subject, acts as the subject. For example, my friends. So friends here is a group of words. Okay, we are talking about more than two persons. So he or she are talking about friends. So my friends, what does my friends represent? A group of people. So here friends become the subject. It acts as a subject. So the example is my friends. My friends who are fun, loving, want to go out for a movie with you. Okay. So in this sentence, beta, friends is a group of words. Okay. Friend is a group of words. So this is the subject. And what's the verb? Verb is the want becomes the verb. Okay. So here group of words, that is friends, become or acts as the subject of the sentence. Am I clear? Now the next one, in the above sentence, the subject is friends and it is in third person plural. Okay, so it is third person plural. So it takes the verb want. The subject friends is the main word in the group of words. So it acts as the subject. The verb want agrees with the subject, that is friends. Another example could be your parents who are understanding want us to do well. Okay. So let me erase it. So the example would be your parents who are understanding. I hope it is clear to you. No, wait a second. It's not. I think it's not. Okay. So your parents who are understanding want us to do well. Okay. So beta, in this parents are the group of words. Okay. So parents become the subject. So it is being said that group of words acts as the subject in a sentence. And what is the verb? Verb is want. Want is the verb in a sentence. Am I clear, students? Okay. Now let's move on to the, I think it's last point of remember. Last point to remember. Okay. So when a sentence begins with the word there, the noun placed after the verb is actual subject of the sentence. Means when a sentence begins with what? There. जब कोई सेंटेंस स्टार्टिंग में देयर से स्टार्ट होता है, जब कोई सेंटेंस की स्टार्टिंग देयर से होती है, देन व्हाट हैपेंस? Noun placed after the verb. The noun placed after the verb is the actual subject of the sentence. Okay. In this, the pattern would be there plus verb. And the noun position would be after the verb. Okay. So, after the verb comes the noun which becomes the subject of the sentence. Okay. So, this is what is being said कि जब कोई सेंटेंस देयर से स्टार्ट होता है तो उसके बाद वर्ब के बाद जो नाउन आता है वो एज अ सब्जेक्ट ऐड करता है. मोस्टली क्या होता है? सब्जेक्ट देन वर्ब, सब्जेक्ट प्लस वर्ब. This is the pattern. But here in this points to remember, it is being said जब कोई सेंटेंस देयर से स्टार्ट होता है तो उसके बाद वर्ब आती है और वर्ब के बाद नाउन आता है और जो नाउन आता है वो एज अ सब्जेक्ट बिहेव करता है. ओके, आई होप इट्स क्लियर टू यू. नाउ लेट्स मूव ऑन टू द एग्जाम्पल. सो द एग्जाम्पल इज there is a parrot in the cage. There is a parrot in what? In the cage. So beta, in this is the verb and a parrot is the noun, or you can say the subject. Okay, the subject of the sentence. There plus verb plus subject. Am I clear, students? So what happens beta? The subject, a parrot becomes the actual subject in a sentence, and there is the introductory subject. Okay, from there the sentence is beginning, so there becomes the introductory what? Introductory subject. Okay, there becomes the introductory subject. A parrot becomes the subject, the main subject, and is becomes the verb. Am I clear? But see, a parrot, we are talking about a singular subject, so the verb is also singular. Am I clear? Now, another example. There are plants in the balcony. Okay, so there, what is there? It is introductory subject. Are, what is are? Are is the verb, and plants become the subject. Okay, the main subject. So here also there is what? Plural subject with plural verb. Am I clear? Plural subject with plural verb. We are talking about plants. Okay. Now let's move on to the exercise, that is B part of the exercise. Okay. So, read the following sentences and fill in the blanks with appropriate form of verbs given in the brackets. Okay. So, the first one is the notorious thieves dash within brackets have stolen the statue. So, the answer is the notorious thieves have stolen the statue. Answer is have. Okay. Second one, the aroma of the cookies. Okay, the smell, the aroma of the cookies dash be tempting. So we all know that with be we use what? Is, am, are, was, verb. So verb. So in this we would be using the aroma of the cookies is tempting. Okay, now the third sentence. Third sentence is, here dash be within brackets the blank sheet you asked for. So here are the blank sheets you asked for. Okay, you have to look at the pattern of the sentence, then you have to use be form, that is, am, are, was, were. Okay, according to that. So beta, let's move on to the fourth. There dash be a team of cricketers waiting in the stadium. So with be, according to the sentence, which form would be used? There is a team of cricketers. We have already told you that when we are talking about a group of people, we don't use the verb in plural form. We use the verb in singular form. So, the answer is there is a team of cricketers waiting in the stadium. Am I clear, students? Let's move on to the fifth part. The theme of the stories dash be similar. So the theme of all the stories is similar. Okay? Now, the last sentence of this particular exercise is, so students, the sixth one is, here dash be a banquet of flowers you ordered for. So the answer would be, here is a banquet of flowers you ordered for. Okay? So let's move on to the features. Noun denoting food, clothing, furniture and stationery are singular and take a singular verb. Okay? For example, the furniture is polished. So when we are talking about, wait a second students, please take down the screenshot. Yes, I hope you have taken down the screenshot. Okay. So I was saying that when we are talking about food, okay, clothing or what? Furniture, okay, furniture or stationery, and stationery, we refer them in what? In singular verb. Okay, we take them as singular and their verb is also singular. For example, the furniture is polished. So in this, the furniture is a singular and is a singular verb. Now, when a lot of or plenty of is used to indicate quantity, it takes singular verb. So, when we are talking about a lot of, or we are talking about, we are using it in a sentence by saying a lot of or plenty of, then it also means we have to use singular verbs with it. Okay? When we use a lot of or plenty of, with that also, with this also, we use what? Singular verb. Am I clear? So, but when a lot of and a plenty of are used for numbers, beta, there is two things. Okay, when we are talking about, when we are writing a lot of and a plenty of in a sentence to indicate a quantity, we use singular verb. Okay, when we are using it to indicate the quantity of anything, then we use singular verb. Okay, but if we use this lot of and plenty of to indicate what? To indicate numbers. Okay, to indicate numbers, then plural verbs are used. So in this, there are two things that we have to keep in mind, that a lot of or a plenty of can be used as singular verb and can also be used as plural verbs. Am I clear, students? For example, when we are talking about quantity, a lot of coffee has been added to the milk. So we are talking about the quantity. We are talking about a lot of coffee. बहुत ज़्यादा coffee use हो गई है, milk में add कर दी गई है. So we are talking about the quantity. So in this, has is a singular verb. But in the next example, a lot of boys are visiting the museum. So in this, we are indicating the numbers, that a lot of boys. Okay. We are not talking about the quantity, we are talking about the numbers. So when we are talking about the numbers, what do we use? We use plural verbs. Am I clear? Okay, let's move on to the another feature. News is always regarded as singular subject and takes a singular verb. Okay, when in a sentence, news word, in a sentence, news word is used, then it always denotes singular subject with what? Singular verb. Am I clear? Now the other one is one of is also considered as singular subject and takes singular verb. Just like the news. So students, I have already told you that news is always considered as singular subject. Okay? Singular subject with singular what? Singular verb. And just like that, one of is always considered as a singular subject and takes a singular verb. So just like news, one of is also considered what? Singular subject and singular verb. Am I clear? Now let's move on to the example. For news, it would be, this is a breaking news. We never say that this are breaking news. Okay, so news is always considered singular. Okay, so singular subject with singular verb. Just like that, one of is always considered what? Singular subject with singular verb. Now its example would be, one of the girls is known to me. You don't say one of the girls are known to me. No, you say one of the girls is known to me. Okay, you are talking about one of the girl. Okay, so singular subject with singular verb. Am I clear? Now let's move on to another feature. If there are two subjects in a sentence, the verb will be plural. So if there are two subjects, अगर एक sentence में दो subjects हैं, then the verb would be plural. Okay, the verb would be plural because subject is also more than one, na? If the subject is more than one, or you can say if the subject is two, then the verb becomes plural. Am I clear? Now, example, Aditya and Vikram are preparing for their exams. So, there is two what? Two subject. Aditya and Vikram. We are talking about two persons in this. So, Aditya and Vikram becomes the subject, which is plural subject and what? With plural verb, which is are. Aditya and, just a second, yes. So it would become, example, Aditya and Vikram are what? Are preparing for their exams. Okay, students. So Aditya and Vikram are preparing for their exams. So Aditya and Vikram, these both are the subject. Okay, they both are the subject. Okay, both of them are subject. And R is what? A verb. But what type of verb? It is a plural verb. Okay. And here Aditya and Vikram is the subject, but it is also a plural subject. Okay, beta. Now let's move on to another feature. If two subjects are regarded as one, the verb will be singular. अगर कोई दो subjects हैं जो कि एक single की तरह उनका recognition किया जाता है, then their verb also becomes singular. Okay? So the sentence would be, an example would be, bread and butter. Bread and butter is ideal for breakfast. Ideal for breakfast. Okay. So bread and butter, we are considering this as singular subject. Okay, because with bread we consider butter, so bread and butter are becomes one thing. They are written in two format, but they are being recognized as singular subject. So their verb also becomes singular. Okay, singular verb. Am I clear? So their verb also becomes singular. Another example is, needle and thread is always kept. Needle and thread is always kept handy by mother. Okay, we have always seen that needle and thread are always kept handy. Matlab, here needle and thread are also being recognized as singular subject. So the verb becomes singular. Okay, so the verb also becomes singular. Verb. Am I clear? Another feature of this subject-verb agreement would be, if the subject and the verb are separated by a group of words, the verb must agree with the subject. Means, the man in a blue suit is my father's friend. So here subject and verb are separated by a group of words. The verb must agree with the subject. Okay. So here we see there is a distance between what? The subject and the verb. And if this distance is between them, if the verb and subject are separated from one another, then the verb should agree with this subject. So students, we have almost completed this chapter, the subject-verb agreement. So in the next class also we would finally would be able to complete this particular chapter. So till then, please make notes in your fair copies. Meet you tomorrow. Bye. Take care.